Left-wing Kingz. Listen, think, act, repeat.
These men out here, man. These men out here, they grasp for straws, man. They want help with everything. So in Tennessee, paternity tests are mandatory for unwed parents before the father's name can be added to the birth certificate. So some men outside of Tennessee are like, hey, I want to get a piece of that action. I'd love it if, we had that mandatory paternity test here in Tennessee. So Kerry, what's your opinion on this? Tell us a little bit about your thoughts here.
Okay, well, this is what I'll say about the Tennessee decision to make it mandatory. I think it's a good thing. Paternity fraud has been a point of contention with a lot of men. You have a lot of men, whether unwed or wed, where they're coming to find out that the children they believe was theirs are not theirs later on in life. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes what happens is they might end up paying child support for said child or children. So with this law, what it's going to do is going to prevent some women from basically saying that this child or children are yours.
Right.
And they're really not. Now, my issue with that, and I'm going to play devil's advocate with this, is there are a lot of men who've been calling for this. They wanted to make it mandatory for a while. But my thing is, I felt like a lot of guys, instead of just finding a way to make sure that the child or children is theirs, they were complaining about the paternity fraud. And my thing is, as a man, anytime you invite a woman into your life, okay, you are responsible and accountable for what happens with that situation.
Right.
So if you decide to ease up in a woman, unprotected, right, you ejaculate in that woman, okay, there's the possibility she can get pregnant. What I felt that guys wanted to do, they wanted the government or the state to step in and say, hey, you know what, guy? You made a conscious decision to have sex with these women. We got your back. Don't worry about being accountable for your decision to have unprotected sex. We're going to make sure that you don't get screwed over by this woman.
Yeah.
And that's my whole point is, at the end of the day, you're still accountable for your decisions.
Who's stopping that woman from getting screwed over? Because they've been getting screwed over for a long time. And women are caring individuals. They are much more willing to say, hey, let's handle this outside of getting the law involved. And I'll help you by not putting you on child support and not making you get it to, let's just, handle this as adults. And women are more likely to do that because they're caring and nurturing individuals. And sometimes they get screwed over for being nice. So
you're absolutely right about that.
Yeah,
I would agree. And if you did the math, you probably can point out more single mothers who've been left to care for children by themselves without the father versus women who are actually putting babies on dudes that aren't theirs.
Yeah,
exactly. That's the issue right there. You know what I'm saying? So, and the Tennessee decision, I think it's guys want the Tennessee to be Maury Povich. Make that decision for them. You know what I'm saying? End of the day, man, they need to.
Are they gonna do it like Maury Povich style? They just gonna bring them out on the monitor?
You are not the father. There you go. I think Kerry hits a point when he says you shouldn't put yourself in that position in the first place, and if you do, you need to be responsible for it, and that's basically where it kind of falls into that thing. It's not the act of what's happening at that particular time, it's what happens after. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's a lot of guys out there that play that game, man. Well, you know what? I don't want to, I'm not the father and blah, blah, blah. And then they don't want to pay for the paternity test because a lot of places have paternity tests.
Yeah.
But you got to pay for it. You got to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then what happens is you get hit up with the charges or whatever the case may be, and responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have to say, sitting here between y'all two men, being very defensive for women is very comforting. But women hold an accountability in this too. We letting you slide up unprotected. We're not protecting ourselves. And we hold as much accountability as the men do. And it's not fair to men that we're letting multiple of y'all slide up and there's a chance that we don't know who the baby daddy is, and we're going to go for the best one. Who's got the most money? Who's going to be nice to my kid? Who's going to do this and that?
Wow.
That's a big part of this.
I'm not trying to put nobody on blast, but I know that it has happened before to people who I know who went in and was given, had somebody on child support for years. And then they went into a situation where I guess they were trying to get some type of public assistance. So they had to go to the state, and the state made them get paternity tests in order for them to get that public assistance to see if you the dad, you need to pay instead of the state, right? And end up that person was not the father, right? So it does happen. Paternity fraud is a real thing. And to your point, we're being nice and everything. And it's not all about, bashing on the men either, because there's women out there doing dirt. And this mandatory paternity test does have a place. There is a need for it. But at the same time, to your point, man, if you're a real man, you should be asking and paying for paternity tests from jump. You shouldn't even be waiting for the state to do it for you. You're afraid of what the female might say.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the point. That's what I don't like. I don't like the cowardice. I'm saying, because the reality of it is these guys, they don't want to upset the woman or offend her because they feel like either she going to close the door on sex, they don't want to lose opportunity to keep doing that, and or the woman is going to leave them. Okay, and that's what it's really about, is them upsetting the woman. So I can see how some guys might hide behind the mandatory test woo, I ain't got to say nothing. The state going to take care of it for me. Mm-hmm. So I don't got to step up and be a man and tell this woman, hey, look, I don't want to be on the hook for a child that ain't mine. I'm not saying that you out there doing anything, but just for my protection and my peace of mind, I'm going to need you to get a paternity test before that baby's born. Because what a lot of guys don't know, and what I want them to know, is that now there are paternity tests available for a woman who's at least 7 weeks pregnant. Now, she got to agree to it, but it is available.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, so, I heard what you're saying about the woman leaving and not giving them sex, but if you still that deep in a relationship, you questioning the paternity, maybe you need another woman, bro. You know what I'm saying? Real talk. If you oh man, I'm you sleeping with and y'all living together, but it's up for grabs, nigga. What's going on, dog?
See, that's
but you shooting crash, nigga. What's going on?
But that's the question. So the question is, are you getting a woman pregnant that you've been married to for 2 years, or are you getting a woman pregnant that you've been dating for 6 months?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
See, that's where the issue is.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these guys and women are having unprotected sex right away, as soon as they meet each other. So a lot of cases, the pregnancy is coming soon in the interaction. Mm-hmm. And then later on, maybe they'll find out that somebody is cheating or whatever, and then they'll question it after the fact.
Yeah, that's...
Look, an easy way to just solve that, it's 50% my obligation, it's 50% your obligation. We both failed to take care of our obligation. When it comes down to the baby, we split the cost, because paternity tests are expensive. We split the cost and then go from there. I wouldn't... Look, I know I can't lie, so I know what I'm going to do and what I'm not going to do. So if you question it, okay, look. Let's go. We can go right now. See, is how my attitude is.
But here's the problem. How many women actually have honor and integrity, though? Not to say that women don't, but
there's not a lot.
How many of them would be that understanding and not cool with it, though? That's the problem. A lot of people, men and women are included, are very, very selfish and immature, and they take offense to things, and then, they want to battle you, or they want to play the victim.
Right. You're right. And that's what it boils down to, integrity. If you're being honest with the dude you're with, you shouldn't have a problem proving it.
Exactly.
But yeah, man, it's just coming down to making good decisions on who you're with, man. I think what it is, when you're talking paternity tests, it's already kind of too late. Just being real, guys, you got the most to lose.
Oh, yeah.
And what I mean by, and I'm not talking about when it comes to, because women will say, hey, well, now, if I got to raise the kid, I'm raising of course we know that. But what I mean by that, when you talk about the actual paternity test, if you got that question, it's better for you just go ahead and pay for it yourself and do it. You could play the 50-50 or whatever, but if you're at the point, and to me almost where if you're at the point where you don't want to pay for a paternity test, and why you questioning it in the first place, man? Just go ahead and ride it out. You know what I'm saying?
Go ahead and sign with it.
Sign that paperwork, bro. You know what I'm saying? Because once you sign, it don't matter.
Exactly. It's a wrap. You can get it. You can do whatever you need to do after that. You signed.
But in Texas, if you're not married and you have a baby and you put a guy on child support, Texas does make you get a paternity test and makes the guy pay for it. It's added to his court
Now,
cost.
do they make the guy pay for it if they prove that the child is his?
He has to pay for it whether it is or not.
That's wild.
Now, he can fight it, but the burden is always on the man to fight it. He can fight it and have it charged back to the chick.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to have to pay child support. But yeah, the burden is always on the man.
And I will tell you that it happened to me, like, before I was married.
Yes.
Had relations with somebody, and then after I was married, they came back. I get something in the mail like, you are the father. You got to go to court. I said, no, I ain't. Right. So I knew that I had protected sex with this woman, but for some reason, she want to go ahead and just throw it out there like I'm the daddy, whatever. She want, like you said, roll the dice. Yeah. We see who got the. I think it was. I don't know if it was you, Tina, that said looking for the person with the most money. Mm-hmm. See if he the daddy, so I can get up some of his money. Mm-hmm. So I was like, all right, well. We gonna fight this. So the first thing I did was I said, look, we getting a paternity test now. Yeah. So got it done. I don't know why she agreed to do it because she knew it wasn't mine. But got it, and I had to pay for it.
And it ain't cheap.
And it came back that, okay, you are not the father. 99.9%, you ain't the daddy.
Wow.
She got a copy of that, I got a copy of it. Guess what happened? 6 months later, I get something from Texas, Attorney General, Houston. You're being claimed to be the father of this child.
Again? Same chick?
Yeah. The first time she just did it between me and her. She just contacted me, said yada yada yada. I had to, tell my wife all this shit. Like this it was before you, blah blah blah.
She mad.
My wife was mad still. Well, my wife was mad. Okay, about that. Be. Well, she ain't mad today, but she was mad then. I'm like, of course. I mean, we was dating when it happened. I ain't gonna lie. Like I was, messed up. Something happened. We broke up for a minute.
Yeah,
I did some stuff.
Pause.
Yeah, came back. But anyway, she was mad about it then. She's like, this better not be your baby. I said, look, even if it is my baby, I'm taking care of it. But if it ain't, I'm not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Come back, it wasn't. Okay, cool. She got a copy, I got a copy. Why is she gonna go to the state after that?
Again?
Yes.
Yeah.
The first time it was just, she just came at me.
Okay. Oh, that's right, the first time. Okay, that was the second time.
Yeah, the second time I get something from the state. Talk about you the daddy. I said, ain't this some shit? I got a court date. So I go to court, I bring that I paid for, paternity test. They took it in account. They were like, okay, you can go. It ain't yours. You can leave. And that was it. I never heard about it again. But to your point, paternity fraud
is big.
It's real. It can happen to anybody. Anybody just throw your name out there. Mm-hmm.
And it's both
say it's you.
And you just wasted your time with that.
Money. Wow. Time, made my wife mad.
Peace of mind,
now, everything.
You knew it wasn't yours, but your wife is like, I don't know. Maybe you eased up in it. Maybe the condom broke. You ain't being honest about it. Who knows?
Yep, exactly.
Wow, that's nuts.
So it happens. That's just my point, man.
Trifling, man.
Hey, there's a need. To your point, there's a need for mandatory testing, and if the state's gonna pay for it, great, because them shits ain't cheap. Mm-mm. I mean, maybe it's cheap here, some places, but when I did it on my own,
it's not.
That shit was not cheap. I'm like, it ain't no joke, man. It can change your life.
No, it can change your life. Mm-hmm. And let me say this, based on what happened with the young lady, there's nothing wrong with sex. If you want to engage in casual sex, that's cool. But that's the drawback, is you dealing with a woman you don't know. You really don't know her character. Yeah. You just know both of you are sexually attracted to each other. Mm-hmm. Also, and to your point, because you said earlier, why are you waiting till you years into the situation and then you want to question the paternity? That's that vetting process. Are you properly vetting that woman? Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people, and I personally know guys, they get into these relationships for superficial, shallow reasons. Mm-hmm. And there's no substance with them or the woman. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these guys, that's why when guys, they want a relationship, I ask why. Why do you want a girlfriend? And it's always, I just want someone. And it's like, is that why? Really?
And they're going to just take anybody that shows attraction or interest in them?
Yeah, and someone who can give them sex all the time. They want in-house sex. They want access to sex all the time. And I'm like, is that why? Is that the real reason you get into a relationship? Yeah. Just so you can have someone to climb up in every other day or whatever it is. And when you do that, or when you have a relationship just that's built on the physical, because there's no substance, something is going to happen. Man, look, when we do our shows, guys call in all the time. And they'll tell us about the problems they're having with women. And the first thing I'll say, are you hitting it raw? 99% of the time it's yes.
Wow.
And it's like, you're going to be a daddy and don't want to be. It's just a matter of time. And then you're going to be mad at the woman because she's having a baby that you don't want to have. But you're the one that eased up in it and did whatever you did.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's wild. Hey, just pause for the calls real quick. We got my man Peter Peter J. Milner in the building. What's up, Peter, from the UK? He says, here in the UK, we used to, and to a certain extent, we have a problem with teenage pregnancies. So what he's saying is, there used to be a big problem with teenage pregnancies, but now it's kind of calmed down a little bit, but it still is. So, I mean, that's an issue here too. I mean, and it's part of the conversation that we're having now too. I mean, this isn't just for like adults. I would assume that this law in Tennessee is going to go towards teenagers or whoever the case may be, right?
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah, and that's sad, but we're talking about grown ass people here. We ain't talking about no
Exactly. We're
kids.
talking
Right.
about grown
You know
folks
what I'm
that know what they do. Because sex is a grown folk thing.
Yeah.
It should be.
It's supposed
Should
to
be.
be. Yeah.
Sex is a human thing.
Yeah.
It's
It's a human
anybody.
thing. Yeah, it's a human thing.
It's
but
animalistic.
But
actually.
yeah, it is.
is,
We're all,
right.
we're all biologically inclined to do that. But there's a certain maturity you should have if you're going to engage in that. And unfortunately, teenagers all over the
Yep.
world is doing it. They're not mature enough. They're making bad decisions. Even grown-ups.
Yeah.
You got people in their 20s and 30s that they ain't got no sense. So
Yeah, exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, man, I'm just kind of like very, I don't know. I'm very pro like make sure that you telling people about things because we've all made mistakes in our lives where we didn't say the things that we wanted to say. We should have said and didn't tell somebody something. And this is just a way to kind of it's a cop out, man, for somebody instead of saying, "Hey, I need to let's wear protection," or saying, "Hey, I want a paternity test. I'm not just going to, walk up in this mug with you. I want to do this because I don't, I'm not trying to offend you, but I don't know who you've been with. It's not,
Yeah.
Right.
it's not offensive, right? I
And
mean,
at our age, dating in your 40s and 50s, science has brought us far. Women are still having babies in their 40s and 50s.
yeah.
Are we not talking about, hey, we're attracted to each other. We're eventually going to end up in bed
Better not have a
together.
baby in your 40s and 50s.
You'd be surprised.
Hey, yeah, I was about to say, I know a few.
Look, we're both fertile. We're gonna agree that we don't want kids. Our other kids are already grown. We don't want no more kids, right?
Yeah, don't do that.
And then the girl's like, yeah, no, I don't want no more kids. And then she ends up pregnant. We talked about this.
If you don't want no kids, why are you raw dogging?
Hey,
well,
if
I don't
you-
understand.
if you have unprotected sex,
You want
you want a
kids.
baby.
Yeah.
That's how I
You
feel
gotta-
about it too.
To me, and that's another thing, right? Because there used to be this term accidental pregnancy. It's not accidental if you're going wrong.
Yeah, and
You
would
gotta
you fall
expect-
into it?
There was purpose
Accidental.
behind that shit.
Yeah,
exactly.
that's how it works. It's supposed to work like that.
That's how having babies works.
Whoops,
Ran up
I
in there
fell
wrong.
into that.
Yeah.
I was just laying there like this.
There's a few things that I wanted to kind of touch on too with this topic, man. So I don't know if this is a path that you've already thought about, Carrie, but another important thing, like I will say this, mandatory paternity tests are important because sometimes, like I know somebody who has a kid, the kid is grown now, but found out that the people that, this is, like I said, I'm not gonna put nobody on blast on them, but the people who people think the daddy is,
Yes.
all the females in that family
Knew it wouldn't.
have they have medical issues like lupus, like all of them. And so there's a girl that was born by this person, and nobody knows who the daddy is. But I'm like, all right, I think this guy's the dad. If they have a paternity test, then they would know. Maybe she would have an idea about her medical history, and she would be able to like do things or monitor. So that if she ends up,
Preventative care.
yeah, I'm like that's an important thing too, right? About
Yes.
these paternity tests, like medical, like history and things like that.
Well, and a lot of guys that found out they weren't the father of kids, that's how it happened. There was some type of medical situation with the child
Wow.
where they had to get a blood test. And then the doctor was like, sir, I got to talk to you. Maybe if you want your wife to come in, but you need to know something. Like it could be like a bone marrow transplant or
Right.
something like
Yeah.
that.
Wow.
Blood
And the guy-
transfusions.
yeah, and they find out. So there is something with that, with the whole medical history, because that matters. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Who your parents are, the type of things they've had in their family history, whether it be diabetes, high blood
Yeah.
pressure, things of that nature. That's important to know exactly who the parents are. So I think the mandatory paternity test is definitely going to help, but I don't think guys should be relaxed with that. I think they should still do their due diligence and make sure they know who they're dealing with. And just because the test is there don't be easing up in these women unprotected, man.
Right.
You know
But
what I'm saying? But go ahead.
I feel you 100%, man. There still needs to be accountability, and you should
Yes.
take responsibility and ask that question regardless of what state you in.
Yes, I agree.
At the same time, I think that you have just as much responsibility to that child because that child deserves to know like what their medical. And maybe that's an approach and a way to come at it. Like, hey, look, you know what? I want us to have a paternity test. So I don't want. Why I ain't been sleeping with everybody. It's important for the child to know what their medical history is.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know. We just dating, and I'm just gonna tell you. I think for the child's sake, and also for the child's, isn't it important to know who your real daddy is? If nothing else. I mean,
Bro, we live in a world where the children are the victims in all of this. They're
Yes.
the ones getting the short end of the stick because they're being lied to. And then what if the father finds out that the child is not mine? So there have been men that, after 6-7 years of believing they were that child's father,
They leave.
they'll leave. So now that child is heartbroken. Now that child grows up with all types of nonsense. You know what I'm saying? Feeling like they've been left, abandoned,
Mental health issues.
traumatized. Exactly. So, and that's the selfishness.
Right.
Is that these children, multiple lives are impacted because it's not just the children or the father. It's also the siblings.
yeah.
It's the cousins. It's the grandparents, the aunts, the uncles. Everybody's impacted by that lie.
Exactly.
Everybody who built a relationship with that
Exactly.
person.
Exactly.
These kids lose out so much when, whether it is the child or the father's kid or not, that the dads walk away. It's horrible. I knew the guy that was in the Air Force, took care of a kid for 18 years. And you know, she was getting paid because he had an allotment going to that child support. His military people made sure
Wasn't
that
missing a
baby was
month.
taken care of. The day after the baby turned 18, she tells him that that's not his kid.
That's evil.
At that point, he was upset, but he has an 18-year relationship with the boy. And
No doubt.
he wasn't like everybody else. He's like, well, he might not be biologically, but for the last 18 years he has been because he went to his
Yep.
football games. He had a relationship with him.
Yeah.
He's like, he's mine as far as I'm concerned. Forget the money.
Well, that's a good man.
But he can't get a refund.
But that don't mean that she ain't evil.
She
No,
is evil.
she foul.
She is evil. And unfortunately for her, the kid was real mad with her. He stopped talking to her for a long time.
Wow.
But he kept the relationship with his non-biological dad because that was a dad that was present.
Hey, let me throw that in there because Joyce did throw a comment on here about the STDs.
She in the wrong place. It's
She is in the
called
wrong
Left Wing Kingz on Facebook.
I know she is, but I got to give her love. You know what? We
Hey,
celebrating her
Joyce.
birthday later, so
I'm like, we see. I can't even put your
What's up,
comment on
Joyce?
screen because you on the wrong
yeah.
thing.
Well,
That's why I
Mama
tell
did
people
too.
go ahead and comment on the Left Wing King's podcast on YouTube. But here we go. She says people became more reckless with protected sex when we came up with cures for so-called incurable STDs.
And she's a nurse.
Oh well, I can say that I agree with that because Magic Johnson just got everybody comfortable with just raw dogging.
That's what I'm
But
saying.
everybody
Magic
ain't got
Johnson's
my...
still good, ain't he?
Magic Johnson's still good. He
Magic
never
Johnson-
got AIDS. He's HIV. He said, I'm gonna quit with this. I'm just gonna stop here at this one, and I'm gonna be all right for the rest of my life.
Everybody don't have.
He didn't get AIDS.
Yeah,
Just,
they
let's
didn't have
get it
his
straight.
money.
He never got AIDS. He
But
HIV.
HIV, 91, right? And that's when we thought AIDS was that was it. That was a death sentence.
And if you got HIV, you was gonna catch AIDS. It was
Yeah,
a
exactly.
wrap.
It was,
But now...
He got a TV series out on himself.
Bruh. Everybody likes that show. I ain't seen it yet.
Oh,
Everybody
I
seen it
haven't
like
seen
it.
it.
I love, but he won. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, oh yeah.
Magic Johnson,
Man, he got movie theaters. He got
Yeah.
all kind of stuff. This dude is over the top.
Don't he own some
But I also
Starbucks,
got
too?
yeah, he do. He owns all kind of stuff, man.
Joyce
Him and
jumping
Shaq.
on the right one now.
Oh, there
Oh
she
yeah,
go.
whatever, Joyce.
She's on there now.
Look, that's my family. I'm gonna go ahead and talk some noise to her. Where was you at the birthday party? Anyway, I also got Walanda, my queen, online. She says everyone deserves protection, including men. So
That's right.
This is true. Everybody, man, woman, the child.
everybody.
Definitely.